Okay, looks like we are ready to get started, folks, and welcome everyone to our Albany City Council meeting. And I'll call the meeting to order. Would you like to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Holly, roll call, please.
Counselor Callum?
Here.
Kopsinski?
Here.
Olson?
Here.
Coburn?
Here.
Johnson? Here. Mayor Canopa?
Here.
And Collins is excused.
Yes, thank you. Okay, first on the agenda this evening is a proclamation, and this is on Extra Mile Day. Extra Mile Day is for November 1st, 2016. Whereas Albany is a community which acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists within the entire community when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in a perfect effort, volunteerism, and service. And whereas Albany is a community which encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving of themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. And whereas Albany is a community which chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals and organizations within its community who go the extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community. And whereas Albany acknowledges the mission of Extra Mile America to create 575 Extra Mile cities in America and is proud to support Extra Mile Day on November 1st, 2016. Now therefore, I, Sharon Canopa, Mayor of the City of Albany, do hereby proclaim November 1st, 2016 to be Extra Mile Day, and urge each individual in the community to take time on this day to not only go the extra mile in his or her own life, but to also acknowledge all those who are inspirational in their efforts and commitment to make their organizations, families, community, country, or world a better place. In witness hereof, I set hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Albany to be affixed this 26th day of October 2016. And sometimes I wish we could probably compile a huge list for all year of everybody in our community that does go that extra mile. So we do have a very committed community and really doing a lot of volunteerism, and we're very grateful to them. So.
Mayor? If you may have seen on Albany Happenings today, there was a lady who wrote in about her mother who had been laid off locally, and she was having a sign outside of, I think, Walgreens.
Yeah. And
a guy walks up and throws some money or puts some money in her hand and says, "This is from the Lord," and turns around and walks off. I thought, wow.
Pay it forward. Yep.
I know. That was so sweet. Yeah. So, no, we've got a great community. Actually, and even just this Saturday, one of our local churches that it's called the New Hope now, Assembly of God, had a whole bunch of volunteers that came out in our community and did a lot of cleanup in a lot of our natural areas, and we greatly appreciate those volunteers. So, okay, so scheduled business, communications, the first item for the economic development request. You all received the email. That one is being held over. And then the second one is request for comprehensive plan amendment and zone change for property on the east side of Lochner Road and south of the railroad tracks. Jorge, are you leading on this one, or Jeff, or who's leading this one?
Either one of us can do it. The South Albany plan had identified this property as potentially being zoned light industrial, I believe, as a better zone designation than the current residential zoning. And so the school district is obviously involved in the South Albany area plan project and is now interested in seeing if the city would be willing to pursue rezoning of that property to what was identified as its best use in the South Albany area plan. And we've been in contact with the school district, and we talked about just initiating this conversation and seeing if council thought that it was the right time to pursue that evaluation and change. And with your concurrence, staff would go ahead and start that process.
I think I have had some concerns already, so word's kind of getting around, I think, to the neighboring properties about something coming up, because evidently there's been surveying done. So to initiate that process then, would the first step be for the school district or whoever's going to purchase it to hold a neighborhood meeting before the zone change is done, to kind of get their sentiment over it first?
Yeah, I don't believe that there's any purchaser in mind that I'm aware of. This is more a matter of rezoning the property so that it's more marketable and in line with what the South Albany area plan identified. So the zone change and a comp plan amendment would go through its standard land use process, even if city staff initiated it. So there would be opportunities for public involvement in that process.
Yeah, the only thing I'm thinking is then if it's the school district wanting to go through that process, for them to hold a neighborhood meeting, so it kind of keeps, so we're staying neutral at it.
That's the question.
Start to
What
get
it
their
really
input.
boils down to is this a process that the city wants to initiate, or would the council prefer that the school district submitted an application, paid fees, and went through the process
Yep.
similar to other landowners? That's what it boils down to.
That's
Yeah.
what I would prefer. I mean, the property itself is right next to the railroad and across the street from what's going to be an industrial or light industrial kind of process anyway. But, I mean, they're the ones who want to have it done because they want to make more money on it. Hey, great, fine. Just like anybody else, they can go do the work.
Yeah, yeah, because it does border also on the north and the east side, all residential, so, and that's what, they kind of have a stake in it. They want to know really what's going to be planned for that area, so.
What, you mean across the railroad tracks?
Across the railroad tracks north and then east, the housing that's to the east side of the property. Yeah, so that's where I had the call from, on the east side of that property.
You know, I would be in favor of the school district doing it.
Okay, is council okay with that? So, okay.
Piece of information
Yeah.
that John provided is that it got moved into the enterprise zone recently by John, so that piece is completed.
Oh, okay, yeah, so, yeah. Okay,
Okay, got what we need. Thank you.
all right. Anything else on that? Okay, thank you. Okay, next is business from the public. Is there anyone here this evening that would like to bring an item forward to the council? Nope, not seeing any. Oh. Yeah, Jim, you can. Okay, I'm not seeing any. So next is an ordinance. This is on page 12. And this one is, we have had a lot of discussion on this one. This is over the stormwater utility. So any questions you have of staff, or would you like to have the first reading read?
First time title only.
Okay, all right, John.
An ordinance amending Chapter 12.01.010, intent and purpose, and amending Chapter 12.01.040, definitions, and creating Chapter 12.30, stormwater utility of the Albany Municipal Code.
I'll make a motion the ordinance be read a second time, title only.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, second reading.
An ordinance amending Chapter 12.01.010, intent and purpose, and amending Chapter 12.01.040, definitions, and creating Chapter 12.30, stormwater utility of the Albany Municipal Code.
Make a motion for adoption of the ordinance. Second.
Okay, and discussion? Yeah,
Madam Mayor,
Bessie?
I just want to make sure, this is just basically creating the
Like Ralph should
stormwater
have.
utility. The fees are not included in this, is that correct?
That is
Because-
correct, Councilor.
Okay, that is good, I'll be okay with that, because
Yeah.
the fees were the ones that I had a question about. Okay, thank you.
And also, with the fees, Jenny Richardson had pulled through, and I had her check on Albany Partnerships apartments that are the lowest income housing, for Albany that we, are partnership with the city on, and none of it was going to increase for the properties, for each of the apartment. If some of them are maybe $50 a year, it was really just very minimal. So a couple of the other properties was maybe $3 a month. So for a apartment complex, of at least 40, it was very minimal. So on that, because of the reduction, and then, yeah, the reduction on the water sewer. So yeah. Okay, any more discussion?
Actually, I'm going to vote for this, but I was thinking about just grumbling a little bit. And I'm going to grumble, so I won't grumble, and you can just consider that I did grumble.
Okay, we'll go for that.
Let me think about that for a second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. All right, okay, got that one done. And next is agreement to provide infrastructure funding for CARA. This is a resolution that is on page 20. This is what was brought forward from the Urban Renewal Agency. That was recommendation from the Central Albany Revitalization Board. So, questions, or Stuart?
If you'd like an explanation, I could give a brief background of the item. if
Okay.
you'd
Yeah,
like
go
to
ahead.
move
I
it.
don't need one. I have a question of
Okay.
legal counsel.
Okay.
You have, in the last couple of days, fielded questions from public on this, and it is your opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, that this is legal within the system and, well, because we're saving money, I think it's reasonable, but that we have no trouble doing this from our own legal perspective.
That is definitely my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
I kind of had a similar thought or question. Isn't CARE or wasn't CARE pre-authorized at a specific spending level or limit, and we're certainly well under that?
We are under that, but I don't know off the top of my head the limit. The state steward would probably.
Yeah, the Central Albany Revitalization Agency had an initial maximum indebtedness of $56 million, and we've used about $18 million of that $56 million for completion of the projects in the area. So, some of the same people have current concerns about what we're doing, have had concerns in the past, but the agency was formed and that amount was authorized long before the charter amendment was passed. So I'm guessing that's part of the legal background on it.
It is, and also our charter, as well as state statute, authorizes an override for these types of expenditures as well, so.
It says that 37 million are still available as, for the agency to use. This only represents like 22% of that 37 million that is left.
Right. Well, I think it's good that we do ask the questions and discuss it in public and have the transparency, and we're not trying to pull a fast one or hide anything, and there's the background on it. Well, some of these issues that we talk about, staff and certainly the councils have been here for a while, have some history and know some of these things, but the public doesn't, and that's how they find out, is by asking. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, Stuart?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to just follow up a little bit on Councilor Kellum's question as well. Kind of the belt and suspenders. We did have our former city attorney involved in discussions on this issue, and we also included our bond counsel, which generally advises the city council when we, such as last year, when we brought to the voters the general obligation bond for the public safety facilities. And bond counsel also agreed with the determination of our city attorneys as well. So it's a belt and suspenders. It's had a good look with those definitions, and it so happens our bond counsel was instrumental in drafting the language in the ORS, and so it has a very good understanding and good representation to state level as well as the local level and advice that they've given us in past bond issues. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Any other questions, council, or you have a resolution on page 20?
Move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. All right, thank you, Stuart. Next is waiving competitive bidding and establishing a contract-specific procurement for Sinor Water America LLC membrane modules, whatever that is, so. And that's on page 25.
That's water cleaning stuff.
Something to do with water.
Question.
Yes.
Is there a local supplier for that product?
No.
Okay, that's all I want to know. Thank you.
So Mayor, Council, this item refers to purchasing replacement membrane modules for the Albany Millersburg Water Treatment Facility. The last time we purchased replacement modules, there was only one manufacturer, Evoqua, which used to be Siemens. There are now 2 approved manufacturers of membrane modules. The membrane modules have to meet certain requirements of both federal and state agencies as far as their ability to treat water to a certain degree. So Evoqua and Sinor are both appropriate modules to use in our water treatment facility. This item requests permission to purchase those modules from Sinor. Their product was evaluated. We requested for bids from both manufacturers, and those were evaluated by a group of staff, water treatment and wastewater treatment professionals who understand those things. And they determined that the Sinor product provides the best opportunity for the city to treat the water at an affordable cost. The special procurement requirement is because there are only 2 manufacturers, and it's over $150,000. We need the council's approval to directly award the contract to Sinor. The contract would be for 320 membrane modules, which would replace half of one cell. And we only requested a one-time procurement because it is possible that the next time we ask to replace modules, there could be more manufacturers available. So we want to keep our options open. But at this point, the Sinor product looks like the preferred product from staff's perspective.
Okay. Questions? Yeah, Bill?
So is a membrane module the same as a filter?
It's a cartridge.
Right.
Right.
And 320 is half of them, so there's 640 total?
In one cell, correct. And we have 4 cells that we currently use. The last time we purchased modules, last fiscal year, we were still operating under the settlement agreement with Siemens where we had a steeply discounted price, and we were able to purchase the maximum number of modules allowed under the settlement agreement. And I think we've replaced 1.5 cells, so this would complete the second cell with brand-new membrane modules, and then we have a replacement plan, so we would be working on the next 2 cells over time.
So correct me if I'm wrong, I thought as part of the settlement, they gave us
They did.
a bunch of filters.
They gave us some, and then, which were installed because there was damage.
Right.
And so we installed those, and then we also had a purchase agreement with them at a significant discount that ended last November, a year ago. And so last fiscal year, we purchased all of the ones that we had remaining in the contract. So that agreement is gone. Now we have to basically bid for replacement modules at this point.
Okay, well, I appreciate the clarification, because I was under the impression that under that settlement, we had basically one, complete set of filters to replace everything. And so like the first one would be a freebie, but it sounds like that's not the case. The ones that had the early failure from the sand, and we were doing the pinning, got replaced, and then apparently it was a buyout.
Right,
So-
yeah, in total, there was one, I think, complete set, but because some got replaced very early on, now that it's 10 years later and they actually are at a replacement point, we're going to have to start purchasing them.
All right, thank you.
Okay, all right. Council, there's a resolution on page 28.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. All right, thank you, Chris. Next is the Albany Municipal Airport Master Plan. So this would be dated September 2014. I see John's in the back. Did you have anything you needed to say on it, John? Or does council have questions?
The only thing that I would mention is it's dated 2014. The project was started in 2012. Because of turnover, employee turnover in the FAA office up in Seattle, I think it must have been reviewed 6 different times.
Okay.
To a point, and then we go
So
back.
John, you're going to have to come up forward.
I'll restate that, John. That's okay.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, John.
the question is about the date on the master plan, and essentially what happened is we started this process in 2012, and there were multiple staff turnovers at the FAA and then delays due to their funding issues and things, and so we started and stopped this process at the FAA many, many times. So essentially, the work between the city and the consultant has been done for 2 years, but getting the FAA's sign-off so that it could come to the council took another 2 years.
Wow,
And that's the source of the delay.
and the wonder, yeah. Okay, questions? Yeah, Bill?
On page 30, that first bulleted item, authorizing the transition of the paved overruns into displaced thresholds, is that a fancy way of saying you're going to tear up the pavement and put down
No.
concrete?
No. What it is basically restriping and marking of the runway. So we have existing asphalt that goes beyond the runway inlines, that it's going to be marked, and once we get through the project, it'll be marked to be used as a displaced threshold, which essentially means the planes can take off from behind the current runway inline. It gives them more run for their takeoff, which adds an usable runway length without having to modify the surface at all.
Would you add some lighting, though, and move the end of
Right,
runway?
that's a project, so it's in design this year, and it'll be constructed hopefully next year, where we're adding lighting, changing the striping, and then we're extending the taxiway so that they would connect at those further back points. So there's a little bit of work done to the taxiways and the facility, but not the asphalt of the runway, really.
And then can that asphalt area also be used to land on?
It is not intended to be used to land on. The landing point stays the same where the big line is now across the runway is the touchdown point, and it stays the same. The real problem with our runway is on takeoff of those more high-performance jets, because they're heavy with fuel, and they have to have enough length to get up to speed and take off and then turn their engines off. So they have to have a full length of runway to get all the way up to takeoff speed and then have a failure and be able to run out the end of the runway. So you need longer length on takeoff than on landing. And so that's what this gives us.
Does that asphalt area eventually need to be concrete or not?
No, it was constructed to the same specs as the main part of the runway itself, so it can hold the weight.
Okay, because I have heard that there's an insurance issue when jets land because of this available length. And
Yeah.
so, it's described to me, I have insurance, I don't have insurance. And as long as
Well-
nothing happens, as is with the case with any insurance,
Yeah.
they're fine.
I think my understanding is the landing is not as restrictive as the takeoff length. Taking off again would be the problem if they were heavy and it were a warm day, for instance. They would not have adequate length to safely, and if something
Fully
happened on takeoff, they would, and their plane blew up or whatever, they might have an insurance issue at that point.
I want them to clear my car as I'm going by. Yeah.
Right, so essentially, it's the only way to get usable runway length at our airport. There's no other option.
But is there a solution to that problem in this master plan?
The displaced,
In terms of jets?
yes, so the displaced threshold gives us the maximum amount of runway surface possible. There's no other way to get any more. We eked out every foot we could get,
No, I understand.
To the south, what about to the north?
both ends. It's mostly on the south end, but there's a little bit on the north.
Well, basically, it's there and you can use it, but you can't count it.
Well, currently, under FAA rules, you cannot take off behind the runway inline.
Yeah.
So if there are pilots that are doing that, they're doing it at their own risk. It hasn't been approved by the FAA to be done. I'm not saying it's not being done, it's just that it's not in accordance with FAA rules.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a resolution on page 31.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. Next is a short consent calendar. So if there isn't any items that need to be pulled off, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. All right, business from the council, and Bessie, anything? this
Nothing,
evening?
ma'am.
Okay, all right, Bill? No, Deb? No? Rich?
I have two things.
Uh-huh.
I saw people at Wendy's today and stopped in and met some people from Denver and from California, and they say they're going to be up and running with a totally new-looking place middle of January.
Oh, okay.
That's, of course, given the vagaries of construction, so.
Is it still Wendy's?
Still Wendy's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are they going to have a grand reopening?
I have no clue. They were, oh gee, thanks. The other thing is we got some good news and we got some not so good news. On Tuesday, as many of you may be aware, I attend a commissioners meeting, and this last Tuesday, a report was given to the commissioners about alcohol and marijuana use by children in the county. The good news, alcohol, allegations of something going on, and this is just in schools. This is not anywhere except just in schools. Allegations of alcohol use are down from last year in almost all cases. Some places, well, in Lebanon, they were, 2 years ago, they went from 10 to 20 allegations and now down to 11. In Sweet Home, it went from 6 to 9 and then down to 4. Here in Albany, there were 47 in 2014, and that went down to 19. And then it is now at 13 allegations, and that is for the first 6 months of each of those years. That's the good news. The bad news, allegation of marijuana use. In Sweet Home, it went from 6 to 4 to 5 from 2014 to 2016. Here in Albany, it went from 35 to 27 to 53 in the first 6 months, and that is just in schools. In Lebanon, they thought they had a good thing going because looked like it went from 8 to 7 to 5, which they were starting to pat themselves on the back until the sheriff pipes up and says, well, but Lebanon schools have a new program where they don't count the first offense. And the sheriff's office have determined there were 7 that they know about, and they know there are more, they just don't know how many more. So it went from 8 to 7 to 12 in Lebanon. Anyway, they are going to be bringing that out, and they're going to ask the Lebanon schools to report the contacts so that they will have a better basis for statistics. Anyway, that is such as it is, and when they come out, I'll bring it and give it to you.
Okay, all right, thank you, Rich. Anything else?
No.
Okay, Ray? Okay, and I didn't have anything this evening. Jorge, anything? Don't staff have anything before we go into executive session?
Mayor,
Yeah.
I have one thing I'd like to introduce our deputy city attorney for anyone who hasn't had a chance to meet her yet, Jessica Henson. She's sitting over here next to Jeff. Jessica is also our municipal court prosecutor and is going to be covering planning commission meetings as well.
The
And-
lucky one.
Yeah, so you'll see her from time to time, and she will actually be covering the
Drew the
council
short
meeting
straw.
the next council meeting on the 9th. So she'll be up here with you.
Okay, all right. Well, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome.
So, and we're still pleased to see that retiree in the back, so.
And Jim's always
Yeah.
around,
I didn't want
He's
him to
addicted.
leave totally. Okay, anything else before executive session? Okay. With that, we will recess to executive session to discuss pending litigation or litigation likely to be filed in accordance with ORS 192.660 2H, and to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection, to consult with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed. Okay? With that, we are into executive session.